Hello everyone, this is Ranger J 1999 from the Reality Skewed Gamers, and welcome to another lore video. It's been a while, but we are back with another lore video for you guys. And for you out there that don't know, we do these videos for new characters, or characters in the Star Wars game, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and for Star Wars fans in general. Sometimes they're not in the game, but they're just fun characters to talk about. And these are intro videos for the beginner that will touch on the main points of the characters, our character. And we will mainly focus on canon with some legend stuff if needed. Sometimes it's flipped, sometimes it's all legend stuff. And in case of this video, it's definitely all legend stuff. Again, just some things I want to highlight before we get started. These videos will be done in more of a podcast feel and more of a conversation than anything. Also, any images that I used, if you are the creator and have an issue with us using them, please let me know. We'll take steps to correct it. And of course, I'm human. If I make a mistake, I'm sure you will let me know. But please, if you let me know in the comments, be constructive. I don't mind constructive feedback, but just don't be an asshat. I just don't have time for it, and I'll ignore and delete your message. But good constructive criticism is always welcome. And last out to some of our of the sites where I pulled this information from, including Wikipedia and some other sources. Thank you. The Old Republic forums and some other places I had to dig this up. Thank you guys. You guys were invaluable resources for me to do this video today. And today we will be talking about the Eternal Twins. That's right, Arcann and Thexan. I should note that the reason for this particular video is because we here at RSG, our Gamers for Cancer, and through our efforts of our fans, our VIPs, they hit one of the goals of a challenge that we put up to them, and because they hit that in raising money to fight pediatric cancer and our goals for ACS, we will be bringing you this video. We have a lot of fun with the Eternal Twins. They are some of my favorite characters from the Old Republic. They're very fascinating, and I don't mind doing this video, but they like to give me a hard time about always saying Eternal Twins in our in our stream. So this one's for you. So let's get into the Eternal Twins. The twins were first introduced to us in a video called Sacrifice, a cinematic trailer produced by Blur Studio for Star Wars The Old Republic, and it was the 5th digital expansion for them called Knights of the Fallen Empire. The trailer was released at the Electronic Entertainment Expo on June 15th in 2015, and the official website's page for the new expansion. And if you've not seen the trailer, you should, as well as all the cinematic trailers for the Old Republic. They're incredible, and they're definitely worth watching. So let's kind of get into a little bit of their stats. I'm not going to go into full depth into everything. One thing that I'm not going to do is cover the full story of like Arcann, for example, because a lot of that's spoilerish. Some people might want to play the story arc in Knights of the Old Republic, or the Old Republic game, the MMORPG. So we'll get to a lot of the main points of these characters, their introduction, things of that nature, and kind of give you a broad overview of their story and some key things that I think are important to the characters. Now, they were twins, and so obviously they look the same, as you can see from the picture. They are both humans and had blue eyes and short brown hair, kind of cut in a militaristic manner, unless they were using the dark side. And then they have, of course, the orange-yellow eyes that you are synonymous with the Sith. And their height, from what I could find, they stood approximately 6 foot tall. It was hard to find information about their date of birth, approximately, and like height and some other things like that, but it's really not important. But the picture kind of gives you a sense of what they look like and some general description of them. Now let's get into the twins themselves. Arcann and his twin brother Thexan were sons of the immortal emperor of the Eternal Empire of Zakul and Senya Tyrell, and member of Valkorian's elite guard from the ranks of the Knights of Zakul. They also had a younger sister named Valen, who eventually will get her own video, but just know she existed in this verse and plays a huge part of the story. As seen in the cinematic trailer, the children played together, sparring in the shadows of the Eternal Fleet, or were running away and living in the Endless Swamp for a month. The twins were trained from childhood to be warriors, and you can see this in the video. But Arcann gradually became resentful of their father's apparent lack of interest or affection toward them, and his resentment, growing as the years passed, became more prevalent, despite Thexan's attempts to placate him. Now, when we start getting to some general timeline stuff, we're getting to the year 3637 BBY, and that's the old timeline for Star Wars, which I still follow, which is the battle before Yavin. Arcann and Thexan requested their father's permission to lead an attack to test the strength of the galactic powers of the Great Galaxy. At the time, you had the Old Republic and you had the Sith Empire going at it. This became a third faction. Now, the Valkorion, who's going to get his own story, was actually Vitiate incarnate. It's a lot to unpack there, but he did approve the venture, but decreed that only Thexan would lead the internal fleet. And just to give you guys who's Thexan and Arcann in the picture, Arcann's the one in white, Thexan's in the brownish, darker uniform. So you guys can see that. But back to the main point, he said that only Thexan would lead the eternal fleet, and he ordered Arcann to remain on Zakul. Now, Arcann disobeyed his father's wishes and joined his brother anyway. I mean, it was inevitable. In the cinematic, you see this happening. They fought on many worlds, testing both the Galactic Republic and the new reconstructed Sith Empire. And from the trailer, you can see they just basically laid scunning into both sides. You see them killing Jedi, you see them killing Sith. And they went to multiple worlds, leading the forces to victory against both sides as a test for how the Empire would face against these two factions. And that's a really key thing about this. It was a third faction. The Eternal Empire was a third faction vying for power in the galaxy. It becomes part of the story arc in the Old Republic, so I'm not going to get too much into that and what happens. But it was a chance for the twins to test their mettle and might against both sides, because they wanted to rule the galaxy and dominate both of the other factions. That was his father's goal, and the sons would do anything that their father asked them to do. Now, these battles, and again, part of the cinematic, you can see this, these battles all culminated and led to the battle of the battle with the Sith Empire on actual Korriban. The clash with the Sith under the command of Darth Atroxa, or Atroxa, I would say Atroxa, and it was in the Valley of the Dark Lords. During the battle, however, this is where Arcann was grievously wounded in an explosion that took his arm and left the left side of his face scarred. You see that in the trailer. He's pretty severely injured. And then there's some other material that goes into the depth of that incident. He was taken away from the battlefield to an encampment where he was operated upon. They saved his life, but by the end of the ordeal, Arcann had been fitted with a replacement cybernetic arm and the left side of his face behind a Durstall mask to conceal the burnt scars on his face. The thing about this, Thexan never left his side. They were both very loyal to each other. Their bond was something that could not be ever questioned, and you see that in the trailer. He holds his hand while they're working on him on the battlefield. So Thexan was there for Arcann and Arcann for Thexan. The following day, Arcann was back on his feet and led a renewed assault. He actually kills Atroxa and using his new cybernetic arm to twist her wrist and basically cut her in half. On the battlefield, these guys were incredible, and we'll get into some of their stats. More about Arcann than Thexan, and I'll explain that here in a second. Returning to Zakul, the homeworld, Arcann and Thexan presented the lightsabers. Again, you see this in the trailer. Present the lightsabers of both the fallen Jedi and the Sith as trophies from the battle to their father. However, Valkorion being Valkorion and Vitiate, turned away in silence and overcome by the dark side of the Force with everything that had happened. His feelings and animosity toward his father, seeing what has become of him, Arcann became furious and attempted to attack the Emperor. Thexan, to prevent his father's death and to stop his brother, pulled his brother back. Arcann, in his rage, turned his attention to Thexan. You see in the trailer, strikes out, not really thinking about it, just reacting with instinct. But he cuts his brother in half, and their duel ends with Arcann striking down his brother, and you see the dark side fade from his eyes as Thexan dies in his hand. And they do a really good job of showing the hand grasp that you've seen throughout the cinematic trailer, that, you know, this moment and the impact and the importance of it. Right after that, after her brother dies right there, Valkorion comes up to Arcann and says now his only son to come with him. This gets into the Old Republic storyline. It gets into you playing the story. This is the cinematic trailer and stuff. And this kind of leads to why there's not a lot about Thexan. There's very little about Thexan. He's not the main character for the story arc. It all comes about Arcann. And Arcann goes through a huge story arc that you play through. So I encourage you guys to actually just go watch it on YouTube. You can watch the cinematics and the story things in the game, and you can see the story of Arcann and some of the choices that you can make. Again, being a Biologear, there's choices you can make as your character that have an impact on you and on Arcann, and it's just it gets into a lot of stuff. So I really don't want to talk about that. I mean, this is where the twin story ends and mainly Arcann's story begins. And it's unfortunate. I wish there was more stuff about Thexan, but there just really isn't. And as I said, if you want to get the full story, go watch that. Now, I do want to get into some stuff about Arcann, and get into some of his attributes, his personality, things of that nature, to kind of end this video. We will get into Valkorion, we will get into Valen in their own separate videos, but I want to talk a little bit about Arcann here. Now, let's talk about how Arcann, who he was as a person. Arcann was a calculating, shrewd, patient, and ruthless young man. He deeply desired love and acknowledgement from his father, and his father was not very good at doing it. His father showed a very lack of interest in both the children, and this more in Arcann that Thexan started that development of resentment for his father, to the point that you saw in the fit of rage, he attempted to kill him. And then does some other things to try to get rid of him. But Arcann's parents believed jealousy to be Arcann's hidden and fatal weaknesses, and it was. Arcann loved his sister Valen, and his acknowledgement of her abilities kept her loyal to him. Arcann was also arrogant and believed himself beyond the reach of destiny. So you can see that he, unlike his brother, who was... Arcann was the fire, Thexan was the ice. Thexan was very much more in control in his actions and things that he did. Arcann way more played that Sith kind of dark side, letting his emotions rule, and it led to some choices for him. Now, on the battlefield, Arcann was a fierce frontline warrior, and we're working with his brother Thexan. The two were nearly unstoppable. They were damn near unbeatable, and they show in the cinematic trailer they just lay pain and scunion to both sides of the Old Republic and the Sith Empire. And you can see that this had developed from them as children. Of course, being twins, that plays a part of it. They were inseparable. And you can see that with Thexan helping Arcann in times of need, and Arcann having complete faith and loyalty in Thexan. That was never in question when it comes to these two. I mentioned the arm incident. When Arcann lost his arm, I said Thexan never left his side, and it was something Arcann deeply appreciated. And it has an even more impact. You see in the trailer, you know, he didn't mean to kill Thexan. Just in his fit of rage and anger, this act caused Arcann to be shocked, and he was heartbroken by his action. I mean, he really loved his brother, and this was a huge regret for him. And he speaks to his sister Valen of how much he misses Thexan. The part of him has died with Thexan being gone. And he believed that Thexan would have supported him if he would have sided with him against their father. He believed in their loyalty to each other and believed that Thexan would have supported him. Now, after there gets a part, and this is going to be a little spoilerific, but I have to talk about it because Arcann does switch. I'm not going to get to the details of the switch. We know that he loses his arm. We know he's severely scarred on the left side, his face. He wears a mask. There's a whole story arc to that. But just spoilers, if you want to jump up, you can. But I'm just going to get into a little bit that he does eventually get healed, and he gets healed on Voss. His personality changes drastically, with him becoming more calm, humble. He's no longer hiding his scarred face beneath the mask. When speaking to Valkorion, he showed regret of his past atrocities, and he dismissed his father without showing signs of anger or hatred. He threw his support to your character, the Outlander, is the name of that, and remained loyal after Valen's death, which kind of happens in there. He was, although tempted to reclaim the eternal throne for a brief moment, Arcann supported your decision to ascend to the throne. That's part of your character arc, and even entered the mine. It's again part of the story to help you battle Valkorion, who's kind of taken part of. It's a lot of stuff, but he helps with that, and basically defeating his father forever. But regardless of that, the alliance, the coalition's decision regarding the nature of the newly formed Eternal Alliance, he supports your decisions moving forward, and you see a drastic change in the character and the things that he does. Now let's talk a little bit about Arcann's force abilities and things of that nature. Arcann was, as I said, an incredible warrior. Him and his brother were they were a force to be reckoned with, no pun intended. Both of them were naturally strong on the force, so they both had a high level of force aptitude. Arcann was, again, a strong force user and highly skilled duelist. They both were. And they were both able to defeat Sith Lords and Jedi Knights. They both uniquely utilized a yellow-bladed lightsaber, which you can see in the cinematic, which is really cool. And he demonstrated use of Force Lightning, but it wasn't the Force Lightning you see from Sith. Both him and his brother had the yellow Force Lightning, so it was a combination of the two. Could do Force Push, and showed a great proficiency of telekinesis. But Arcann's most proficient ability was, again, the Force Lightning. Even with a cybernetic arm being hindering him from becoming a master ability like his father, Arcann was able to conjure small storms with the ability. That's pretty impressive in itself. He was also skilled with convection. He was able to chain both lightning and convection to an ability that destroyed we know him, HK-55 instantly. Defensively, Arcann could employ 2 to minus. He's capable of defending against Falcon's Force Storm for a brief period of time. He was also skilled in politics, and after taking control of Zakul, because he was the emperor for a while, it pretty much made him the most powerful political faction. It made the Eternal Empire the most powerful political faction in the galaxy. He also had a degree of talent as a military commander. He managed to defeat both Republic and Sith Empire within a short span of 1 year with the might of the Eternal Fleet. So both he and his brother were brought up to be warriors, military commanders, military leaders. They were incredible with the Force. They had a unique style of their own. They had abilities that made them a duo that was almost unstoppable. When you look at the Eternal Twins story, it would be something to consider if Thexan had still lived, because just Arcann on his own is an incredibly powerful Force user, and if you combine that with Thexan, that's why you see in the cinematics them just wrecking shop all over the place. So that's a little bit about the Eternal Twins. This gives you an idea. Now, I didn't get into the story arc of Arcann specifically. That is a lot to unpack. Maybe I'll go back and do a video of just the story of Arcann and the Outlander. But if I was to do that, we'd be here for another 30 minutes. And I really don't want to do that. I just want to give you guys just a general overview of who the twins were. Some things about mainly Arcann, his character, their ties, and some history to kind of give you an idea of who these characters were. With that, I hope you liked the video. If you do, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Again, leave comments if you want to. Again, good constructive criticism is always appreciated. So if you have any of that, please feel free to put it in there. With that, we thank you for being supporters of Reality Skewed Gamers, and we look forward to seeing you on our next stream. And if not, we look forward to seeing you on our next lore video. With that, I bid you fond farewell and be safe.